What's up, everybody? Good morning to Trading Live with Bubba for Tuesday, June the 10th. And these markets are about as brutal as it gets. There's virtually no action. There's virtually no trade. Very tough. If I wasn't here, I'd be on the golf course. One of the things we always like to see is the volume. And if you remember, if you've been around for a while with me, normally we're looking for 5,000 contracts in the Dow. We're not even at 2. The Russell got close, but we're under 2 now. The NASDAQ 10,000, we're at 4. The S&P used to be 40,000. Now I've settled for 20, and we're under 10. Okay. Crude a couple of thousand, nothing there. Euro currency. So you can kind of see that there's very little to do. We have 2 open trades coming in, 1 winner, 1 loser. It's been very tough. It's hard to find trades. And I think you have to also recognize in the kind of market we're seeing right now, it's really not worth trading all that much. Okay. This is where you have to say that I cannot be overly active. I mean, certainly there might be stocks you can find that have made gigantic moves that you may want to get involved with. But overall, in a very large scope of the market, there's very little to do in this thing right here. And that's one of the things you have to recognize as a trader. You have to put yourself in a position to say, hey, I got to just, be patient and wait. And I think that's one of the things that I'm urging you to do is to be patient and wait for your opportunities, because again, it's so thin. And here's where, now I'm not a news follower, but here's where the news comes in. Because it's so thin, any bit of news, and of course we know that President Trump sends out these tweets that have dramatic effect, you get the vacuum effect in markets, and they make large moves that you can't defend against if you're on the wrong side. I mean, the move doesn't have to go against you, but if you're on the wrong side, it's like torture. And to me, and after doing this for this is my 47th year, to me, it's better to sit it out and wait for better opportunities. Like I said, it doesn't mean that something won't show up. Is there a potential that we'd get something here in crude? Maybe. It would have to have an awfully big jump from here in volume, which it doesn't appear to be. So one of the things we have to remember as a trader is that, hey, sometimes there's just nothing to do. And you trying to force action doesn't do you any good. You trying to force it puts you in more jeopardy, okay? And you don't have the high probability setup or trade that you're looking for. Is there a chance we can get something on the euro currency? Or maybe. I mean, we'll look. Again, I'm not going to say I won't look. I'm just telling you that it's much tougher and the trades take much longer to develop, and we don't get that quick spring up or down when we're getting involved, and it makes it a lot harder to hold on to it as you wait for it. Okay. So again, it's one of those things that, last night there was actually opportunity in the NASDAQ. And again, I don't advise anybody to trade at night. It's much thinner. And in fact, I did trade and I did get stopped out. Naturally, I got stopped out 2 ticks from the high. Okay. And of course, then they fell apart as I thought they would do, but they didn't do it in enough time. So here, okay, I look at at crude. Okay, so that would qualify as a potential blow-up type of trade. Now I look at the overall range. You're talking, this whole move is 14 ticks. Even from here, the whole move is 30 ticks. Okay, well, I'm taking a 60 tick stop. Do I really want to get involved in a market that I'm looking to make only 30? Those are the things that you have to look at from a trading perspective if you're trading, again, short term. Okay, if we look at the longer term stuff, okay, and we'll go through our usual group, and I have a couple of news to add for you, but if we go through the usual group, here, Apple, dead nut solid in consolidation. The only possible way to make money here is to sell iron condors, which I typically don't do in this type of environment. I use iron condors in combination with other trades. So that I would not be doing. Amazon, again, reached Certainly, you could take a look at Amazon if you felt compelled to do so. In fact, I mean, again, these I don't mind. These are not as bad as trying to day trade, because here you have time, and of course you are in an extremely overbought condition. Now the question is, based on the lower volatility, will you get enough credit to make that trade? And the answer is not really. Okay, I'd be looking to sell the 217.50, 220, but I want to get $1 for it. It's only at 85 cents. That doesn't sound like much, but that's 20%. Okay, if I take it out a week later, what do I get for it a week later? Which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going a week later. And if I go out an additional week, I can get $1.01. Is that really a trade that I want to make in this overall environment? I'm not in a hurry to make it. Okay. Coin, once again, just sitting in between this range of 240 to 280. So where am I going to make my money at? And that's, again, something we have to remember. Let's just go in here real quick, because I don't want to miss anything. God forbid there would be a trade to make. Okay. Crowd did exactly what we thought. Now, again, we didn't take this trade because we were trying to see if it would stretch to 500. Now it's just calmed down and going sideways. There's not enough movement for me to want to even commit. Here's been a loser for us 2 weeks in a row, and I'm not going to make it 3. It's too thin for me. I'm happy to sit it out and wait for better opportunities. I think that's one thing that many traders have problems with, is having the patience to say, you know what, I'm not going to trade. And just to give you a general idea, I normally trade on a busy day. I'll trade, forget about options and futures alone, I'll trade between 1,000 and 1,500 contracts. Today, so far, 30. Okay. So if you think about that, you can understand where I'm coming from. Okay. Google. Okay. This would be one to take a look at. And I think this is probably, let's see if we can get a reasonable price for it. That's the next question. Can I, because obviously volatility is coming in as well. So I can't, if I do the 82.50, 80, I can't get enough credit for that. I'd have to take it right at 80 to 82.50, which is okay. And then I have to decide, do I want to trade this as just a credit collector, or do I want to trade this as also a potential create a synthetic put? Okay. Which I would be more inclined to do if I were going to do anything. And I can create the 180 put for 205, which is no bargain. So there's no reason for me to create that here. And I would just assume sit it up. Okay. IWM, certainly I'd like to sell it at 215, and I will sell it at 215. That's something that I've been waiting for. And again, it's only 30 cents away, but I will wait. It did get there this morning, but I was busy doing something else. But again, if it pops back up there, I will certainly look at that. In fact, let me just look at what it looks like for today while we're here. Let's see here. Yeah. I'm going to take this trade for tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to sell right at it, the 215, 216 call spread for 45 cents. Okay. I'm going to sell it right now. Okay. I'm going to sell the 215, 216 spread for 45 cents. So again, I'm going to take that trade right here. Microsoft opportunity yesterday. It's still probably an opportunity, but once again, I go to the fact that I'm not all of that interested in getting too overly involved of carrying anything MSTR right in the middle. Again, it hasn't changed in weeks. Nugget, nothing for us to do. It was a trade we made last week, which was our winning trade. NVIDIA, pushing up there. But again, one of the things when you look at the lack of speed in this market and the lack of emotion, it's like, where am I going to take advantage of something? Okay. That is something that we have to remember is, again, where can I take advantage of the opportunity? And I think that's something that, many forget as to what they're trying to do. And if we're here to make money. Okay. That's what we're here for. Okay. We're not here for fun and games. We're here strictly to make money. And again, we have to find the opportunities, not only that are opportunities for us to trade, but opportunities that give us a high probability of a win. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Sorry, hold on. I got to switch that back to crude. Okay, let's go back to here. Nothing going on in here, so I just flip this back here. The Qs are close. I would look at these levels up here. Let's see, what is it? 532, 533. Again, I hate going directly on top of these, but again, to get enough credit for what I'm willing to do, that's what I do. And let's see here. If you want to gamble a little bit, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to sell the 532, 533 for today. Okay. For 43 cents. Okay. Expires today. I'm going to do that right now. Okay. You can hear the dinging in the back. Okay. And SMCI, nothing. XYZ, meh, it could be. SPY, certainly potential. Let's see what that looks like. SPY. And really not enough credit for me for one day. Let's see what it looks like for tomorrow. Because I don't mind going to tomorrow if I have to. I'd prefer to do today if I could. 602, 603 for tomorrow for 45 cents. Now, remember, tomorrow you do have CPI coming out. So, again, being aggressive for tomorrow doesn't make a lot of sense because you're going to be fighting against. Now, the news can go either way. It could be in your favor, and which would make this an easy winner. And it could be against you, which could make it a sweat. So for my money, I get, I just rather sit it out and wait. And Tesla came off nicely. We didn't get a chance to sell it last week, but came off nicely off the position. Win, bouncing off. Again, we would have missed all these anyways. It's just the way our timing is. XBI looks like something, but again, I'm not all that excited or interested because of the lack of activity in this market. Okay. Again, I think you're making a mistake by getting overly aggressive in these markets. I think that you find yourself doing things that are out of character, and you start praying for winners versus actually going in with a high probability. And I think that's something that too many of us, too many people try to, kind of get lucky and take a shot on a market versus actually understanding where is there a higher probability and where they have the best shot. And right now, there is not a lot of great shots to fire. There's things that look okay, but then when you weigh in the rest of it, the volume and everything else that goes along with it, you got to say to yourself, am I really in an advantage here to make that? Which is why we end up with the credit stuff, because at least in the credit stuff, the market doesn't have to go for us. It can't go against us. Okay. And this is where I would be doing some of those ratios trades we were talking about. I think if you trade futures, it's a great place to sell the MES, sell depending if you're using equity options or futures options. If you're using equity options, sell 6 MES futures and buy for Friday 5 at the money calls. Okay. That would be something that I actually have those positions on right now. I have them on in the MNQ. I have them on in the MYM. I have them on in gold. But those are trades that maybe we'll start setting up when we get into the new month. I don't want to put you in a lot of things right now because we're getting ready to go into rollover on Thursday. The Septembers are not liquid enough to really put a position on yet, but after Thursday, they'll start becoming more liquid. So we'll start working more towards these type of positions so we can carry them, because one thing about the ratio trades, you can carry them forever as long as you're not undercapitalized. That's a big thing to remember. If you have enough capital, those trades will always win. But again, it could take a while to be a winner. I mean, we've been in some of these for a couple of months. They're not losing big, but they're losing. But we've already locked up in credit, thousands of dollars on the option side. We're losing on the future side. But I can just keep rolling the options and wait for the down move that I need. Okay. And that's something to remember. If you have enough capital and you have a trade on that is protected, which the ratio trade is protected. In fact, I'll build a slide for you so you can see exactly what I'm talking about for Thursday. But if you put yourself in that position, then you can carry that trade and you don't have to trade it. You just have to worry about rolling your options and rolling them up or down, depending on if you got the long put or the long call. But continually taking money out of the market, even though you're a net loser, you continue to realize profit, which makes the move you need less. And you put yourself in that opportunity to gain the advantage of the market. So as we look here, there is really no advantage. The only advantage I can make is on the longer term. Okay. On the ES is extremely overbought and near its high. Certainly I'd want to be a seller there. So that we would use the MES, the MNQ, same thing. Okay. So those are opportunities. And one thing I would look at now, you could look at now if you were interested and you want to trade it, is crude oil. Okay. MCL against the USO. So you would sell six MCL futures and buy 5 USO at the money calls for Friday. That would be a reasonable trade, and you don't have to worry about, because they roll every month, so it's not that big of a deal. But I think overall, again, you just have to be, patient enough to wait for it. But you can do that in any of these futures markets that have options, and of course, you can mix and match. If you trade futures and futures options, then the ratio is 5-3. If you're trading futures against equity options, it's 5-6. Okay. 6 futures, 5, because again, remember the futures market delta, a big S&P delta is 500 versus the spiders. Okay. When they're like for like, a S&P future against an S&P option, it's 100 deltas versus the option. But when you cross markets, you have to account for the delta. And the simple way to remember that is that the S&P futures are worth right now in real dollars. Okay. They're worth, let's say, $30,000. Okay. Well, 100 shares of the spiders is $60,000. So obviously 5 times 60 equals 300,000. Okay. That's what the S&P is worth, about 300,000. So it's 5 times, 5 to 1. So that's just something to remember, but there's nothing much going on here. And sorry that we couldn't get any trades off. But again, I don't believe in trying to force action. So we will see you back here on Wednesday. Thanks for joining. Sorry there wasn't more to do, but nothing else I can do about that. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you Thursday.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.